this board meeting of the Maryland Environmental Service to order. And we're going to start today with an Inspire Award. And I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Gillespie to introduce the team. And this is a part of a story that I told last month, that we've processed the Inspire Awards, these great teams out in Western Maryland. Mr. Gillespie.
Good morning. As Dr. Glass mentioned, we are going to do an Inspire Award this morning. The primary objective of the Inspire Awards program is to recognize and reward MES employees for outstanding contributions to the Maryland Environmental Service. And this can be for either an innovative idea or for extraordinary service. This morning, we're going to recognize 4 members of our water and wastewater operations team from Western Maryland for extraordinary service. At 6:30 a.m. on Christmas Day, this past Christmas, our water treatment plant operators from the Western region received a low water alarm originating from the town of Crellin, located out in Garrett County. MES reported in during snowing and 14-degree weather to troubleshoot the system and found that the water tank was slowly emptying. The town was almost out of drinking water. After further investigation, we found a leak in the system and coordinated with the county's Department of Utilities to make sure that the leak was fixed. A second break was found actually the following day. Repairs took 2 days to complete with the town. Under a directed boil water notice, MES staff went door to door, notifying the residents of the boil water notice during the Christmas holiday, and they remained on site 24/7, operating the plant to recharge the tank and make sure that samples were taken and water was restored to the citizens as soon as possible. Although our operations teams typically respond to emergency situations, this was definitely above and beyond what we would expect of our employees. We are not responsible for maintaining the distribution system out in Western Maryland. That's the county's responsibility, but working in partnership with the county, and it has been a great partnership with Garrett County over the past 2 years. Working in partnership with the county, we made sure that the citizens remained in the forefront and received the highest quality of service. So our teammates worked really in a team with the county to provide extraordinary service to the residents there of the town of Crellin. So please join me this morning in recognizing our 4 operators out in Western Maryland and giving them a round of applause for a job well done.
Nice work, guys.
Congratulations.
Thank
you. Good work. Good work.
Did Santa Claus come to your house even though you were out doing this?
He did. He was a little late, but he came.
I got a present too.
Well,
Great job. Great job.
Thanks a lot. Great job, guys. And we look forward to seeing you in the spring.
All right, thank you, guys. We appreciate it.
All right. Now, with that, we'll move towards approval of the minutes. Starting with the meeting on January 26th. Can I have a motion, or are there any questions related to the minutes on January 26th?
Move their approval, Dr. Glass.
This is JP. I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Morgan Hall, aye.
Excellent. Now the minutes from January 28th. Are there any questions? Can I have a motion?
Sure. This is JP. I'll move the approval of the minutes.
Morgan Hall, second.
All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the director's report. Can you pull up my expenses, Mrs. Fuller? Or next slide. Or I got to change my screen. So first, I'd like to report that I have incurred no expenses in the past month from my office. I obviously continue to refrain from all travel and business expenses. I gave no direction to staff to purchase anything either. Next slide. This morning, the main portion of my director's report is going to be hopefully not too lengthy of a review of the Maryland Environmental Service Reform Act of 2021, Senate Bill 2 and House Bill 2. Senate Bill 2 is moving. It's been voted favorably by both Senate committees last week and should be moving to Budget and Tax. Well, actually, yesterday it moved out of Environmental, Health, and Education. And there's a hearing this afternoon on the House side in subcommittee to address it, and it should be on the Senate floor for passage from the Senate next week. Next slide. So the bill has a lot of sections to it that address areas in MES. I'll have to say that Senator McCray and Delegate Corman were very receptive. The small MES team that interacted with them was just comprised of Mr. Tosi, Mr. Coleman, and myself. But we had several discussions, and our comments were taken, and they also added many things from the governor's bill to it, House Bill 741, Senate Bill 575. The board must be reconstituted by July 1st. The state treasurer is added to the board. The deputy director is removed from the board. They set term limits to 2 terms. The board selects the chair from amongst its members, and neither the director. And the board selects the secretary and treasurer from its members as well. The one board member must be chosen from a list jointly developed by the Maryland Municipal League and the Maryland Association of Counties, MML and MACO. One board member must be from a rural area of the state. And this was an amendment accepted from Senator Edwards out in Garrett County. Yeah, I think he represents Garrett and Allegheny, and maybe even Garrett and Allegheny. And he has that there's a designation for rural that I don't know, but he stated what that requirement would mean. I think that Ms. Heller and Mr. Smith probably are already in rural areas, but we'd have to have one board member from a rural area. The private sector board members increase from 2 to 3 and have some qualifying criteria with experience. So the executive director, the title of director changes to executive director in the bill to avoid any desire or need for a director to call themselves by another title. But the executive director will be a non-voting member. Term limits for the board in the current bills is 2 4-year terms, and they're staggered, but they all reset starting July 1st, 2021. And now it also prohibits the governor from appointing any MES employee except for the executive director non-voting to the board. So there's no capability for the managing director of finance to be the treasurer in the future. How is this different from the current board? The current board is 9 members, and the current treasury and secretary can be employees in the past. Same with the deputy director. The MES director is the chair of the board currently, but now the new board chair will be voted from the board members. There is the same geographic diversity as in all boards and commissions in the state of Maryland. However, there is the condition with all of our clients in rural areas to have a particular board member represent a rural area. There can be compensation as determined by the board for the secretary and treasurer positions that are on the board. And the new quorum will now be 5 board members instead of the current 6. Next slide. Procurement and expenditures were a focus of the bill. It started with a expenditure limit of $25,000 and for all reporting to the board. So it would have changed the current notification list from 25,000 to 250 to a requirement that the board approve anything over 25,000. The board now will have that go to 200,000. So the 25,000 to 200,000 will be the notification category, not to 250,000. And the board has to be notified of anything that's a non-emergency immediately. So that condition. We believe the intent was to have the board approve everything over $25,000. There was a lot of feedback we gave towards that issue in the sense of emergency responses and smaller things that might interfere with operations. Even though it seems like it's a lot of money at $25,000, there are chemical orders, there are pump replacements that we wanted to still be able to do. And it was critical to at least get the, if it was an emergency, we could put it on the notification list and not ask for permission first. We didn't want to impede our clients. The executive director, obviously it's renamed. And then, so I've been reporting, anything to you all, even in our resolution. I don't believe that if I spent $5 that it was a requirement on the thing, but I'm going to stick with showing you everything on a monthly basis. But the law will say that must present itemized and detailed accounting of expenses exceeding $500 at each regular meeting. But the board is required to establish an evaluation of the executive director on an annual basis. So an annual performance review of the executive director will need to be in place in fiscal year 22. Personnel hiring, MES must advertise, search, competitively interview all positions not assigned to a project is the language in the bill. This takes away the executive director hiring anyone through fiat and must go through the panel review. This does not interfere with all of our project-based work. So if we, like the Garrett County agreement, if we are asked to take over water and wastewater for an entire county, we won't have to go through a panel to interview for all of those prior employees. Those employees can come over to MES from the county if they choose. So that was a consideration in that conversation, to have the stipulation of our project-based work can still hire in the field. There is a requirement for a diversity officer to be appointed by the executive director. This position seems as though is written to be both an EEO component and a diversity, equity, and inclusion formal position. Collective bargaining in the bill makes technical changes to statutory authorization of MES employees to engage with the union. So there's no major change immediately. However, if employees want to organize, the board of directors will be called on to make a decision to ratify or not an MOU with a particular union. A lot for me to learn in that space. I've worked in agencies with unions, but I actually have taken some short course related to it, but we'll have to see as we go through and make sure we follow all of the laws in Maryland to engage with employees that may want to unionize. Board of Directors ethics provisions there's a fairly lengthy list of a lot of work that the board will have to make in the next 7 months or so, 8 months or so. So conflict of interest policy, the board must adopt a new policy with 5 statutory requirements by October 31st. One is a standard of care, which is in the Corporations and Associations article 2-405.1. Must take that. Severance, bonus, and other benefits. The board is required to adopt or re-adopt MES policies for severance packages for MES executives, bonuses, reimbursements for tuition and expenses, workforce diversity, whistleblower complaints, travel, and use of cars, cell phones, laptops. That whole package has to be in a report by December 1st to both the governor and the Maryland General Assembly. And the board members, executive director, and deputy director must receive annual training on ethics, harassment, diversity policies, and standard of care. And then auditing and independent evaluation, the board must hire an independent consultant. MES must hire an independent consultant to review the structure of the board, the dynamics and functioning of the board's role in short-term, long-term strategy for MES, financial reporting process, internal auditing, internal controls, the board's role in monitoring MES policies, strategies, and systems, the board's role in supporting and advising MES, and the role of the board's chair. And then finally, anything else that the board feels is relevant to its own operations. MES must submit the independent consultants report to the governor and Maryland General Assembly as well by the end of the year, the calendar year. MES must also obtain a separate audit on unauthorized spending, misallocated expenses, lack of conformity with state law or board policies, and other accounting areas. The board must review and make recommendations to this report from this audit, this independent audit. The MES shall provide the audit to DBM along with any changes that are made, and MES must post the audit results on its website. So the final area is the Open Meetings Act. We are doing this already for in large part because we'll have to stream the board meetings live as we're doing today. Meeting minutes must be taken as they are, and we must post the meeting agenda in advance. All those are already taking place. We must archive the meeting minutes and videos of the board meetings on our website, meeting minutes for the past 5 years, and video for the past year. We are already doing all of those components, so that won't be a heavy lift. And then the final is the board must approve the hiring of outside counsel. This is just a tweak in the law, and it's currently not required, but when we get bond counsel and any other external counsel other than the Attorney General's office, we'll be coming to the board for that approval. I know that's lengthy. I know that all of you in your regular day jobs might not have the time, so if there's any questions I can ask Mr. Coleman or Mr. Tosi, we'd love to have them from the board. If there are any questions.
I've got one, and that is July 1, as I hear it. That's July 1 of this year, I assume.
Yes, I missed that this is an emergency bill, so as soon as the governor signs it, I believe it'll be within 30 days. We have to act, although the date of July 1 is written in the bill, so the emergency is that we have to implement these things by July 1. That's the interpretation that's been shared with me.
The bill is an emergency bill. The board's composition piece takes effect really on July 1, but all the other things take effect upon the governor's signature. We don't need to, the board doesn't need to complete all of those items, but they can get started on before the July 1st date. It allows MES and the board, a little more time to start addressing all the issues in the bill is essentially what it is.
As I understand it, the present board would be replaced by 1 July. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get across. The only sort of delayed item in the bill, even though the whole bill is emergency, is really the board composition piece. That's, they're not requiring that we replace the board right away. They're giving MES until July 1.
Well, that's not too far away. So the other question is, who or what will require gubernatorial approval when they come into MES? Obviously, the chief will. Has that been changed?
All the board members will be appointed by the governor through the Secretary of Appointments and then confirmed by the Senate.
So that will change. There is no confirmation now, as I recall.
No, there is.
There are certain members who are confirmed by the Senate right now, and there are other members who are appointed by the governor with or appointed by the director with the approval of the governor. That piece of it's going away.
That's the portion that's going away.
That'll
Thank you,
lead into that. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. That's all I've got. Other than to say it's not going to be too long before the tulips are coming up, and by July they'll all be dead. So we have to make sure we get everything in order as much as we can. Thank you, Chief.
Any other questions?
Dr. Glass, I have one. This is Hattie. The clarification on the procurement expenses. So the notification goes from 25,000 to up to 200, and everything 200 and above has to have board approval?
Yes.
Okay.
And everything over 250 that's not federal, state, or local needs to go to the Board of Public Works.
Just a clarification, that piece is for services that MES is providing to other entities, not procurements. The only procurements that will go to the Board of Public Works will continue are the ones that are required to go because they are capital expenditures where the funding is coming out of a state bond bill.
State, okay.
Yes. But otherwise, MES procurements will not go to the Board of Public Works.
I assume that I have one more question about the board. I'm assuming that there will be some kind of pro tem from July until such time as the General Assembly comes back in the following January. Is that correct?
Under the Constitution, the governor can appoint board members who then would be confirmed at the next session of the General Assembly.
Session. Okay.
Yep.
Got it. Thank you. I thought so. I just wanted to make sure.
So with that, I want to give an update on the State Transparency and Accountability Reform Commission, otherwise known as the STAR Commission. The STAR Commission met on Friday, January 29th, and then again on Monday, February 15th. On the 15th, after welcoming Delegate Barron and Senator Lamb to give a presentation on the work of the Joint Committee of Fair Practices and State Personnel Oversight, the primary focus was to develop questions the Commission would be submitting to the independent state agencies under review. The questions focus on financial practices, board governance, compensation and performance, and accountability. So even though we have not received the official list of questions to date, I thought it would be advantageous to MES to begin organizing our responses. And I have asked Ms. Cooper and Ms. Banta to start working on that and organizing answers to all of those questions. Senator Serafini also stated that the agencies would be invited to be interviewed by the Commission over the course of the year. Dates not specified yet. So that's all of the review of the current oversight. A couple of other items just to update you on. Sea Grant Fellow selection. So one of the items that I did not bring up that's in the bill is that MES will have to organize all of its activities and how they impact climate change and greenhouse gases in coordination with the Greenhouse Gas Act or any of the new greenhouse gas legislation that might come through. So I served on a review panel with UMC's President Goodwin, and Sea Grant Director Frederica Moser, and the Assistant Secretary of MDE, Maryland Department of Environment, Suzanne Dorsey, interviewing 4 candidates for 3 potential one-year fellowships. Through the process, we all believe that Dr. Khurshid Jahan would be the best fit to join MES for 1 year. Dr. Jahan is finishing her doctorate at the University of Rhode Island, where she's focused on best management practices in stormwater treatment for the removal of nitrogen, phosphorus, and sediment and heavy metals along highways in Rhode Island for their state DOT. Dr. Jahan was one of the 4 doctoral candidates that made the final pool, and we're still waiting to see if she will select MES back, if she will choose to come to MES. And I believe that she could satisfy that provision, and she could work on that provision as her major task, so that she could focus on how MES and all of our operations interact with other state agencies and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So hopefully she will select MES. There is a spacing and warehouse project that has begun at headquarters, with all due consideration to making sure that we do not lose any of all of the paperwork that we have to retain. So our retention of all documents will remain the same. But the Lieutenant Governor, the Department of Budget and Management, the Department of General Services, and the Department of Environment are all evaluating space utilization and the benefits of teleworking to the bottom line of the state, and both financially and environmentally. Again, back to those greenhouse gases. MES has found that full-time telework model has led to lowered expenses, as you'll see in our financial statements, and the vast majority of headquarter employees prefer enhanced teleworking as results of a survey that we've put out in the last month. So planning forward, looking into the future, once the emergency order is lifted, we're planning to leave 255 Najoles Road at the end of the lease in 2022. So there's some reorganization that will have to take place in 259 to have space for everyone. But we believe we can continue to lower our greenhouse gas emissions, save money on lease space, and provide a high-quality work-life balance for MES employees. And thank you for putting up with a long report today. And any other questions or comments, I'd be happy to answer before we move on. Seeing none. Let's move on to the agency activity report.
Dr. Glass, before we do that, I don't have a question on your report, but I was remiss in my motion to approve the minute for 26. We do need to amend them. The time was 3:30 p.m., not 3:30 a.m.
Excellent. Thank you for that catch. We'll make that change. All right, no other questions. Let's move on to the activity report. Are there any questions from the agency activity report from any of the board members?
I have 2. The MEMA $2.5 million, which is on page 3 or 4. Just some enlighten me on that, please.
Mr. Gillespie.
Yes. So unfortunately, the update here will be that that 2.5 million will not be coming through MES now. We've learned that DPM has gotten involved with the procurement here and would like to go another route. But basically, what this work was for was to keep a consultant that is currently under contract through MES, helping the state with COVID response, outreach activities, and the way that MES has been involved to date has really been the effect of COVID-19 on critical infrastructure such as water and wastewater services. This scope of work goes a little bit beyond that with vaccine rollout and so forth. So again, there's going to be a different approach now to the 2.5 million, but we do understand that there will be a $500,000 task between MES and MEMA to continue with some of the outreach support, again, specifically related to water and wastewater and critical infrastructure. So not quite as big, but more work directly for MES staff.
All right, thank you. And then on page 4 of 4, any update on Prince George's County beyond the narrative for Brown Station landfill?
Mr. Tomczewski.
Yes, I spoke with Lee Flick this morning, and he was he gave some encouragement to the fact that that 5-year deal is moving forward. Their Office of Management and Budget has asked them to look at their capital budgets for the next 5 years and make sure that their capital budgets are in sync with our proposal. And he felt that once we get that resolved, that this would move forward. He was fairly optimistic, so it was a pretty positive sign. So I think it's still a valid project, and and we're doing all the work. So I think we're aligned perfectly.
Okay, very good news. Thank you for the update.
Yes, thank you.
Any other questions? Moving on to the financial report, Mr. Patel.
Good morning. If you can bring up the labor sales has a very good upward trend. It's very encouraging. As I informed earlier, we have one less pay period this year as compared to last year. And that labor sales expected drop was 3.85% because of one less period. But as of now, we are only 3.33% less. So looks like if you discount the one less period, the labor sales is growing, and it will. I expect it to continue to grow even at a faster rate. Environmental dredging, was budget was cut, but now we are catching up with it. So it's a very encouraging news on labor sales. And next slide, please. So the changes in net assets. Is it right now? It is $731,000 better than same period last year. So, however, it is less than the last month as of last month because now the fringe benefit costs are increasing, and which I expected because of the holidays were in January. It will further increase in February because of the snow days. But overall, our change in net assets will be better than the budget. Next slide, please. And the total net asset components are pretty steady, half invested in capital assets, half in unrestricted net assets. As I mentioned before, we didn't get the time to evaluate our fleet vehicles, but we will be replacing some of the fleet vehicles or purchasing new ones. So that will be some investment in capital assets. Next one, please. So budget versus actual. We have a $370,000 drop from last month in the fringe variance because of the holidays. Most of the Christmas and New Year's holidays and Martin Luther King fall in there. So holidays part will be pretty stable, but now we have a snow emergency days, which will also impact the fringe variance. So as you see, usually in the fringe, we try to break even. That's how it's budgeted. But we were 262,000 ahead as of January. But again, in February, it will be declined. Will we still have some positive fringe variance, but it will decline from what we see now. So the overall increase in net assets is 2.9 million. Full year budget was 3.1 million. And we are seeing even the decrease in recovery in the overhead also, because many of the positions are filled now. MES always has a vacancy turnover, so it is difficult to predict, but a lot of these admin positions are filled now. So that overhead variance also, the rate of overhead variance will also decrease. But overall, we will meet the budget or do a little better than that. So this is the detail of the 2021 financial plan, how we budgeted the increase in net assets. So overhead variance, let me see, what is the overhead recovery? Overhead variance is 1.5 million, and the fringe variance is budgeted as -4. But, we may come up with the overhead variance to 2 million and the fringe variance to about $200,000. Now, we have some good news here in over 90 days. As I mentioned before, me and a couple of people in finance are concentrating on this. And we separated the government clients versus the private clients. Majority of the due is in the government clients, and because of their administrative process, their need for more documentation. So we are working on it to provide all that and concentrate on collecting, and very likely, we will be able to collect almost all of it by June 30, because the government budgets are structured that way, and we want them, if they are budgeted, we would like them to pay us, so it's clear on their books and on our books. As far as the private, there are only 4 now. South Star LP. So client has agreed that they're going to submit the payment sometime in February. I think they said about by 15th. I had to check up on it, again, if we have not received it, but they did agree to pay that full amount. Wise Recycling and JR Sales, as I mentioned before, they are both, with legal, and cases are filed. Ricci Land Reclamation. We have a settlement offer from them, and I still have to review invoice by invoice to accept the settlement offer, because the amount offered is a little lower than what I expected, but we will settle with them, and we will have that account cleared, probably next week, provided we can review every invoice in question, determine whether, it is a valid write-off or error, and then we'll settle that account. Also, I just want to let you know, it's not with the major accounts over 90 days, but finance has taken over the product billing now. So we have more detailed records, and we intend to provide those records to our product customers. That way, anytime they question, we have the records handy, and we'll provide them and ask for a response. So that's all I have. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
I have one question. Is the 3.4 inclusive or net of the paid accounts receivable?
The paid is as of today, So when you have accounts receivable, you're looking at the January statements. So that will be some kind of a timing difference there, because I try to put paid if it is received even in February, we'll mark it as paid. But so the financial statements are as of January, so there may be some overlap.
Well, I'm not sure I understand that. So for the paid 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, does that come off the 3.4?
You're looking at a 3.4. Oh, no, yes, it will be less, the 3.4 minus the paid, because that's the separate section. Yeah, I understand what you said. Maybe we'll put a subtotal. Okay, next time I'll put a subtotal where the due and then the paid as a little information block.
Yeah, if we could drop in right after 3.4 the paid amounts in parentheses and give us the net as to what the government and the private sector owe us, that would be very helpful. I didn't understand that report.
Yeah, and that's a great idea. Okay, because this was just going on there, just put it in Excel, get a total, but that's an excellent idea. So we'll separate those two next time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Is that just a yes or no? Is that a good number?
What?
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure you say that.
Chesky, your mic is on.
Oh, sorry.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Patel. Ms. White with the HR report.
Good morning. All is well in HR. Currently, we have 852 positions, and our vacancy rate after all hires are on board will be 3.75%. And we continue to bring employees on board. I think since the pandemic, we have brought on over 80 employees. And that's it.
Any questions for Ms. White?
I have one, Dr. Glass. How are we doing on retention of our operators? That's always been a challenge.
Mr. Gillespie, do you have any updated information on operators? I'm assuming water wastewater operators is the focus in the OIT program, Mr. Snee?
Yes, Dr. Glass, that is correct.
It has been a challenge. You're absolutely right. It does continue to be a challenge in certain areas of the state more than others. In particular, our northern and southern regions, which are kind of the central areas of the state. A lot of times we go through the OIT process and allow for training and so forth, and we get our OITs as certified operators. And then sometimes they can get, $1 or $2 more an hour working for a WSSC, and we lose those operators sometimes. So those areas, our northern and southern regions, are more frequent turnovers. Eastern and western are a little more stable in that regard as far as turnovers. But we have been putting together a plan and speaking with Dr. Glass as well, and looking at our overall OIT program and our compensation in particular, so that MES isn't expending as much money in training staff for other agencies, and we're able to retain those employees longer, particularly in those highly competitive areas. So we haven't seen through COVID any drastic change, but yes, that is a challenge for MES from time to time.
So over the years, I know that's been a problem, and we train folks and then they leave for $1 more. Are we competitive with the private sector in terms of salary and retention and so forth?
So there was a recommendation that the OIT program hasn't been adjusted. It hasn't been adjusted up in the last 4 years. And so water wastewater did present that to me. And I said, let's come back later in this fiscal year to see. It's tough with dealing with the National Capital Region when you're talking about WSSC and what they offer, but it's still under review, and we plan on looking at it again, just because it is a bit much if it's a traditional training program that trains for other agencies, and they've cut back their training program because MES funds their operators. So it's under review, but nothing drastically has changed this year, Mr. Gillespie, correct?
That's correct. Yes, sir.
But we plan on enhancing it. But we also plan on, re-engaging the Singer Survey or another organization like it to review all compensation at MES. I just got a copy of the Singer Survey, and with everything that's going on, I haven't finished reviewing it, but we're going to have to get back to that and make sure that we are compensating competitively.
I think that should be a priority. I appreciate the update. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Group updates.
Yes,
sorry.
this is Morgan Hall. For the new hires. Prior to their hands-on training, do they get any type of COVID screening, COVID testing to actually prove negative, or how is the hands-on training for these new hires done? And in terms of COVID screening.
We have an entry protocol, the same entry protocol that the state of Maryland uses, that everybody has to answer a series of questions before they can come on our sites. So we still have that in place. And because I'm also the COVID liaison, I'm contacted if anybody has had exposure or anybody has actually tested positive. And we follow the same protocols. They would have to either get a negative test, of course, and quarantine. So we follow the CDC and exact same guidelines for all of our employees. But like I said, as far as the entry protocol, they cannot come on site unless they can answer no to all the questions that are asked as far as have they been exposed and that kind of thing.
And for some special trainings, we do temperature measurement, correct, Ms. White?
I'm sorry, Dr. Glass, could you
For
repeat
special
that?
training events, for when we have a training and it's multiple people that are going to be training for a day, we also do the temperature check before they enter?
That is for the safety, yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ms. White.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. White. Next slide.
Good morning, everyone. The Environmental Dredging and Restoration Group update today is on work we're doing on behalf of the Maryland Port Administration for their Port of Baltimore Clean Diesel Program. MES administers the program on behalf of MDOT-MPA, upgrading dray trucks, cargo handling equipment, and marine vessels with cleaner burning diesel engines, equipment, or technologies, resulting in reduced emissions. Grant funding is provided by EPA Region 3 and the MDE Diesel Emission Reduction Act, as well as the Volkswagen Environmental Mitigation Trust. And I'd like to give a shout out to our staff of Amy Warner, who's the section head of Environmental Management Systems and Remediation at Dundalk Marine Terminal, and Ted Kluge, our MES Grants Coordinator, who handled this program, as well as Ecologics, who's a contractor that works on behalf of us on this project. Since 2009, MES has administered over $13 million in funding, providing rebates that have included 160 dray truck replacements, and a dray truck is shown there in the middle picture to the left, 64 exhaust retrofits, 27 cargo handling replacements, 3 marine engine replacements, 16 locomotive start-stop idle reduction technology installs. And since 2009, the port has reduced emissions by 5,100 tons. The next application for grants is due March 16th, and Ted and Amy are currently working on that application. That's it.
Excellent. Thank you, Ms. Banta. Any questions? Are there any greenhouse gas emissions calculated on that program, Ms. Banta? Or is it just NOx and SOx for local air emissions?
Carbon dioxide.
Excellent. Next slide.
Good morning. The group update for environmental services and water wastewater this month is with regard to the work that we do at the BWI Thurgood Marshall Airport. We've got two primary agreements at BWI. We work both on the environmental side and also on the utility maintenance side at BWI. And beyond just our MAA partner there, we also service several other clients located at the airport, such as Signature Flight Support. Those are the private and corporate jet services that fly out of BWI. And then also the Aviation Facilities Company Management, or AFCO, as we refer to them. They're basically the real estate vendor for BWI and house the different vendors out there. One of the largest ones is Amazon. Currently, we do the de-icing operations for the Amazon facility and for all the flights that they have going in and out every day. Although you can't really tell it with today's weather, we are in the middle of a pretty good winter so far. We have had 8 de-icing events declared at BWI. Just for point of reference, we consider 10 to be about average. We have our high for a couple of years. We have a tie. We had 17 events a couple of years there. But so far this year, we're tracking a pretty average year. We have collected 130,000 gallons of high concentrate glycol or de-icing fluid for recycling purposes. This helps save on the environment and also save on the operational cost for MAA as well. This high concentrate glycol we send down to Dulles and it's recycled into antifreeze, and the airport actually gets a cut of how much recycling fluid they're able to contribute. So it comes off the cost of the overall program. So 130,000 gallons of fluid for recycling. We've collected an additional 2 million gallons of de-icing fluid. We've discharged about half of that back into the Baltimore County system. At this point, we hold it for a number of days till we can do some biological testing on it, just to see how strong the glycol is versus stormwater before we charge it or discharge it into the plant system, so that we don't overwhelm the Baltimore County system. And then just for point of reference, we've recorded 10.4 inches officially of snow at BWI this year. When you're watching your favorite news report during the snow event, you see those numbers come out. Those official numbers are actually taken by MES employees. So sometimes I actually know what the total snowfall is before the news station does, because I get updates during the event from my employees. So, and the importance of that and the significance in MES recording that event is the official snow total can make a difference on if emergency funds are allocated to the airport for any particular storm or not. There have been times in the past prior to MES that the snow total was not validated properly, and the airport lost out on a significant portion of funds from the federal government. So now we have a very strict protocol and actually work with not only the airport, but also with NOAA on recording those numbers officially. So again, this isn't new work necessarily. We've been doing this work since the 80s for the airport, but we've got a number of new board members, and it's definitely important work that we do for the state.
I've got one quick question for you. Do we have anything to do with the icing programs? Icing aircraft.
So the top picture there on the slide where they're actually spraying the aircraft, we do not do the spraying. The bottom picture there are the glycol recovery vehicles. So those are the vehicles that go around and suck up all the de-icing fluid that falls on the tarmac. Those are, and this is a fairly new task order for MES. Yes, we've done this for the past 4 years. Originally, the airport had another vendor, but we were able to show some improved cost savings there. But so we suck up the glycol, but we don't spray it.
Okay. What happens to it? Do we put it back to be recycled, or?
So a portion of it, we measure the concentrate of the glycol in the fluid that we collect. If it's high concentrate, we put it into a separate tank, and then that is transferred eventually down to Dulles Airport, where there is a recycling operation there. If not, we've got storage tanks at the MAA, and that's where we'll hold it for a number of days. We'll do chemical oxygen demand, biological oxygen demand tests. That test takes at least 5 days to get the results back. Once we know what that concentration is, we know how quickly we can release that back into the sanitary system without influencing the operations of Baltimore County, which is where the discharge goes.
Okay, that's it. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Perhaps in the springtime, post-COVID, we can do another tour out at BWI.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks a lot. Next slide.
Okay, this is environmental operations slide for the month. We're highlighting the Midshore 2 landfill wetland mitigation and stream restoration project. This is located over in Caroline County in Ridgely. It's essentially adjacent to our landfill, which is in Ridgely. We started the landfill operation in 2011, and basically what this is the mitigation resulting from the putting the landfill at that site. So we have almost 8 acres of non-tidal wetlands and restoration with 800 linear feet of the stream, which is the Chicken Bridge branch run. And the project had 5 phases. We had the wetland mitigation and stream restoration design. We had mass excavation. There was a lot of excess soil that had to be removed from the site. We were able to use that, recycle that, if you will, as a daily cover for the landfill. So that was a big plus. And then we did fine grading as phase 3, wetland planting, phase 4, and the next phase will be the phase 5 of wetland monitoring and maintenance. Estimated cost of all that work was about $1.5 million. We did a lot of this work ourselves. The original estimate for this project was, I believe, around $4 million if we outsourced everything. So a lot of it was internally accomplished at great savings for the counties. Phase 1 was done in 2011, phase 2, 2016. We just completed phase 3 3 months ago or so in November, and we're about 92% done with the plantings. Some of the plantings that we've done include things like American holly, red maple, willow oak, bald cypress, and silky willow. There's quite a few plantings, about 1,600 different woody plants alone that we put in on this site. And in the future, will be the monitoring for the operation will be done by our environmental dredging and restoration group. So we're keeping it all in the family of MES, and that will continue through 2026. Any questions on that? Mm-hmm. This shows an aerial view on the left. And in the upper left corner of that left photograph is the Holly Road homeowner drop-off, which is really close to the landfill operation at Midshore 2. So that's the farm that MES acquired as part of our original Midshore 2 project. It served our wetland mitigation as well as our forest mitigation site. The whole border of the farm was planted with trees. Most of the trees came from the DNR nursery in Preston, which saved us a bunch of money. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Tomczewski.
Thank
Great
you.
project. Great project. Look forward to being there in the spring too,
Yes, sir.
or when COVID ends. Mrs. Crosby.
Yes, good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Okay. Procurement item 1 is for the Paul S. Sarbanes Ecosystem Restoration Project at Poplar Island. The purchase of a large excavator located in Talbot County. The machine will be a Caterpillar 349 or Volvo 350 or John Deere excavator, and it is a non-state assisted contract. The estimated cost is $340,000, which include a trade-in of the existing machine. There's no MBE goal for the equipment purchase.
That was 430,000, not 340, correct?
430,000, correct. Sorry.
This is JP. I'll move.
This is Shelley. I'll second.
Any questions? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Thank you.
Okay, item 2 is for the St. Mary's Salt Storage Facility. This is demolition and general construction to demolish the existing salt shed and general construction of a new salt storage building. This is a competitively sealed bid. The advertisement date is yet to be determined. The estimated amount is $2,151,000. It has an MBE goal of 17%.
How often are things like this distributed through the county where they really need some working about salt places?
Well, this is my project, but this is the first one that I'm aware of. This is located at the St. Andrews landfill, which is how we got involved in it. I couldn't really tell you about the rest of the county. I'm not really that familiar.
No, I wonder how much revenue we can get from doing this across the counties, because I'm sure a lot of these are in drastic need of being redone.
That's a potential project for us to look into. That's a great idea.
Yeah, we got 23 of them.
There we go. I'll pursue it.
Well, there'll be 22 after this.
Probably 1,000 salt storage domes in the state. Who knows?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Make sure you do a copy of the before and after, and then
Okay. We shall.
Okay.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second? Is there a second?
This is Shelley. I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Morgan Hall, aye.
Thank you.
And the next is the procurement notifications.
Any questions? Mr. Coleman.
Good morning, everybody. We're continuing to be very active in supporting the agency in with a variety of different matters. We do have a trial coming up, estimated to be 7 days in Anne Arundel County Circuit Court. This is the Harnden case, and we are anticipating that case, unless the parties agree otherwise and convince the court, that it will move forward in April for trial. there have been a number of procurement matters that we've been supporting the agency as well. Joe, to follow up on your question last month about M2 construction and HRI, we did carefully look at the filings and assessments and taxation and modified the procurement documents slightly. They should be known as HRI, aka M2 construction. They are, the HRI is the primary company, or was the primary company. They were registered both in Pennsylvania and Maryland. They changed their name to M2, but that name had already been taken in Maryland, so they retained the HRI. That's why assessments and taxation allowed them to be known as HRI, known as M2 construction. That's how we have identified them in the contract documents and the bonds.
All right, Mr. Cole. That's good.
And as you can imagine, we've been supporting Mr. Tosi and Dr. Glass with the legislative matters and anticipating that there will be a significant effort by our office to support the agency as anticipating that that legislation will pass and be implemented in the coming months. That's all I got.
Thank you, Mr. Coleman. So the only new business that I'd like to just bring up is that later today, Mr. Tomczewski and I have another meeting with Adam Ortiz of Montgomery County and representatives from Prince George's County Department of Environment to discuss enhancing composting and food waste and marketing of Leaf Grow and Leaf Grow Gold. And there's a large movement. Mr. Tomczewski and I have been having intellectual debates about the advantages of composting and biochar production. We also have part of that new business is that there is a request for information that was put out about 2 weeks ago, requesting information from industry on biochar, using gasifiers and pyrolysis equipment to actually make a char and a substance that can be used as a great soil amendment. So we look forward to getting feedback from industry. For those that I sent that to the U.S. Biochar Initiative organization that I was part of a conference for, a virtual conference on. So hopefully we'll get some feedback of what the industry standards are. I didn't get a chance to read all of their materials, but there are several facilities going in around the country these days that are gasifiers creating the chars, and other industries under other private entities that are actually selling the product around the country. So to have this enmeshed in either our biosolids program or as a component of composting and food waste is really innovative and cutting edge. But it's still in development, but I just wanted to give you guys a heads up that we are having those discussions with Montgomery County and Prince George's County, hoping that we can enhance. Actually, there are private entities in Montgomery County. I took a picture the other day that are collecting compost in little buckets. And so they just come around and they take your food waste from a biodegradable bag and you keep the bucket. So don't want to interfere with private entities that are doing this, but want to support counties and local governments that want to learn about best practices with composting and enhance whatever we're doing, what we're already doing in Montgomery County and Prince George's County and any other counties that would like assistance with composting development and biochar production. So just wanted to give you a heads up on that didn't make my director's report, but it is new business / old business. And with that, if there are no questions, are there any questions? Okay, the next board meeting is set for Thursday, March 25th, 2021.
I'll note that is Maryland Day, so you should dress accordingly.
Crabs or the old flag? Or
black, gold, white, and red.
Black, gold, white,
combination of that.
I'll have to get a suit. Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn? If so moved?
JP, I'll-
Second.
Second.
Thank you very much. Everyone have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you all soon.